subscribe, or bear the hatred of the Uchiha. Wake up to reality.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Show back with another video, and today we're talking about one of my underrated, kind of in the pocket anime. Talking about D.Gray-man. Now, D.Gray-man. Now, this was around the era where we had like Soul Eater and stuff, and it, you know, anime, like the gothic anime style is a really big thing at this point, and I've always enjoyed it. I feel like D.Gray-man had his share of strengths and weaknesses. It's definitely one of those anime that is kind of lost to time. I feel like it's really a really good anime, but if you don't really know, you don't really know. And I feel like they should definitely come back and continue the story. I actually am not clear at this moment whether the manga is still going. I think it was on like sort of a short hiatus, but it's not done. We could definitely see a return to form for D.Gray-man coming out eventually. They did eventually release like a newer up-to-date version of one of the seasons, but the story in itself seemed a little fractured and stuff. You would have to go read the manga for it. Even the manga itself just seems it's good. It's really good. It just seems kind of like, you know, out there and stuff. They start explaining stuff. That's probably just because of me. But with that being said, man,
D.Gray-man is a Japanese manga and anime series created by Katsura Hoshino. The story is set in a fictional 19th century alternative Earth and follows the protagonist, Alan Walker, a young exorcist with a cursed eye that can see the true form of demonic entities known as Akuma. These Akuma are created by the Millennium Earl, a sinister figure with the goal of destroying humanity. Alan Walker joins the Black Order, an organization dedicated to combating the Millennium Earl and his Akuma army. Exorcists like Alan wield a substance called innocence to fight against the Akuma. The series delves into themes of innocence, corruption, and the struggle between good and evil. As the narrative progresses, Alan and his companions uncover dark secrets about the Akuma, the Millennium Earl, and the history of the Black Order. The plot explores intricate relationships, moral dilemmas, and the characters' growth as they confront the challenges posed by the Earl's malevolent plans. The series blends action, fantasy, and elements of gothic horror, creating a compelling and often intense narrative.
Now, D.Gray-man is an anime adapted from a manga by Katsura Hoshino, and it's got a pretty big fan base, you know what I'm saying, since it released. I've been a fan of it. Now, weird thing for me, though, is a funny little thing. When I actually watched D.Gray-man, I think the first 50 episodes was on like Netflix or something, and when I watched it, I was like, what is this? Because it ended so weirdly, and at the time, I didn't really know how anime worked, and I was like, that's really how they chose to end it. Because it was like a good number of episodes, I thought that this was actually the ending, you know what I'm saying, for that season, and it was going to be the ending for the whole entire show. I really was confused on how they left things off until somebody was like, well, you know, this happened, right? I was like, no, that never happened. I don't remember that part. And then couldn't find out this whole time. You know, it's one of the things where as I got older, I realized how manga and anime worked, but at that point I forgot to kind of go back and look at D.Gray-man. But nonetheless, man, this is a big anime. You know, it first aired in 2006, and you know, it's been praised as being one of like the kind of compelling storylines. Like I said, as a kid, you kind of like really got to focus to pay attention to play along. You know what I'm saying? It's one of them anime where it's kind of like dark fantasy. You got a lot of supernatural elements, and the world building is really good in it. It has its own blends of strength and weaknesses. You know, I think one of the strengths is that it really does the supernatural elements really well. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really makes it kind of mysterious. Even the Millennium Earl is like a kind of a silly villain, but at the same time not. He's very dangerous, and it's like you don't really know how they're trying to portray him. Like, is he super dangerous, or is he just an interesting, fun-loving villain? No, he's dangerous. It's got that kind of, you know, concept of them being like, you know, exorcists. You know, they're battling demonic creatures known as Akuma while being in kind of like the 19th century. It makes for an intriguing narrative. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the strengths lies in the characters. I really like Alan Walker. I feel like he goes through a lot of growth, and you know, his powers end up growing and they become more cooler, and that's something I kind of didn't get in the first couple of episodes, which means that the anime, to me, at least to me, was a little bit slow at the beginning. It's one of the things where it's cool at first, and then, you know, you just kind of start seeing the same thing, and this stuff don't really grow. The mystery starts getting deeper, but you don't really get no answers. And then just to think it cut off at a certain number of episodes, and it was just it. But regardless, I do like a lot of the characters. They have a lot of like little twists here and there, you know what I'm saying, little secrets, little relations. You know, if you're watching this and you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. One of those if you know, you know type of things. I actually think this had decent animation. I think it was really good animated. I think that dark and gothic visual kind of really helped it a lot. It really enhanced like the viewing experience. You know what I'm saying? It makes it more memorable. Like it reminds me of stuff like Soul Eater and stuff like that back in the day. It got that kind of flavor to it. Now, while I do agree that this anime is really, really good, it does have some weaknesses. One of the initial weaknesses I would say is the pacing. The initial pacing is decent. I feel like in the later episodes there really was a big decline in how they handled the pacing. The narrative felt kind of rushed. Like it felt like it was just like, okay, this happened, surprise, and then now we're here. Like, you know what I'm saying? It didn't really feel like nothing was earned, or things that felt like rushed, and like I said before, just, you know, didn't have enough time to really pan out, especially when it came out for that one season. There was also several you know, dips in animation there. That's nothing to be necessarily upset about though. If I'm being truthfully honest, dips in animation quality aren't really the biggest standouts to me, because, you know, an episode can dip, you don't really know what's going on at that particular week. But in terms of just characters that not panned out, you know what I'm saying, that definitely hit me a little hard. One thing that's cool about D.Gray-man though is that they do have a interesting cast of characters. Like, you know, there's a lot of characters with different unique backgrounds and abilities, and I feel like it's one of the strengths of the show. You know what I'm saying? You see other exorcists, you form alliances, you know what I'm saying? This is displaying, you know, one of the prominent aspects of this show is a series of concepts called innocence, which is basically a substance with the power to combat and purify Akuma. The innocence is basically something with a lot of distinct abilities that you can see play a crucial role in the battles against the Millennium Earl. Speaking of Millennium Earl, I mentioned him earlier. He's such a mysterious and interesting antagonist. He has a really deep connection with the story, even though they try to portray that he really kind of doesn't. And when I say it's trying to portray that he doesn't, obviously he's the main antagonist, so he would. It just seems like he's so whimsical at times that he doesn't seem as evil as he is. Like his motivations behind the conflict that's going on is kind of gradually revealed as the story progresses. I think he's one of the most interesting antagonists I've seen. He's saying we deal with a lot of loss, we deal with a lot of sacrifice, you know what I'm saying, in the battle between good and evil. No matter what you're playing, or no matter what you're watching, or no matter what you hear, you know what I'm saying, everything in fiction and media is a battle between good and evil. And here it's like, it's gray, you know what I'm saying, it's like a gray thing. There's a lot of different issues, and one of the things that kind of sucks is that we've seen a lot of interruptions with it. I mentioned it earlier. We've seen a lot of interruptions. The series has really never been able to continuously lift itself off the ground because the author has a lot of health issues. You know, that leads to a lot of hiatuses and a lot of big extended breaks between chapters, which can cause like the pacing of the story to feel a little bit off. But nonetheless, man, I think D.Gray-man is a really captivating manga series. I think it combines a lot of dark fantasy elements. It has great action. The world is really developed. It has a really dedicated fan base. And, you know, despite the challenges of it being on hiatus, I think it's a really good watch. So with that being said, go ahead and check out D.Gray-man as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.